We live drums.
Hello folks, I'm Gary France, and today we're going to look at the laws of nature and how they impact on our technical studies really for percussion. Now that's a pretty wide topic, but I think it's going to inform on everything that we do when we're studying technique on percussion. It shouldn't be that difficult to play drums. Often I'll see people playing and they'll come in with big calluses on their hands and blisters and, you know, the physical nature of it all. Students will come and see me and say, well, how can you help my playing? And I'll say, well, you're very tight, you're squeezing the sticks too hard, everything is overbearing, and you're actually hurting yourself. A lot of young players get RSI, repetitive strain injury, and the whole associated problems that come with that. So let's talk about a few key principles that have to do with drumming. Now, the drums, they're membranophones. Those who've studied Kurt Sachs's categories of instruments and classifications. Membranophones, meaning they have a membrane. Here is a membrane. We have a membrane here. Membranophones produce their sound by the membrane itself vibrating, moving the air molecules around it. The air molecules come in contact with our eardrum. They vibrate sympathetically, and of course, our brain then perceives this as sound. It's a very simplistic analogy of how it works, but I think it'll help to inform us on that. So basically, whether you're playing any kind of membranophone, okay, a snare drum, a kettle drum, tom-toms, it doesn't matter if they have a membrane. There are some key principles that are involved, and I call these the laws of nature. Now, you notice that I have a few teaching aids with me today. I've got some tennis balls here, and I don't think, well, I can juggle a little bit, but we won't be juggling these tennis balls. What we're going to do is we're going to use these as teaching aids, and to help us to understand the logical way, the most efficient way to make a sound on a percussion instrument. Now, our first rule of nature that we're going to pay attention to is that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. This is a very important law, and I think that's Isaac Newton is responsible for that. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. What do I mean by that? Well, let's think of it this way. If I'm going to make a sound on this drum, we're going to create a sound, what we're going to do is we're going to impart energy to the skin. The skin will then vibrate and ring freely. And if we want to have an open, beautiful sound, that's what we want to do, whether it's a snare drum or a membranophone like a big one like this kettle drum or timpani. So the idea that I would take a tennis ball and that I would just drop it on the skin. I'm dropping it from the same height, and of course the way I let go of it will have a lot to do with how it bounces, okay? And we've got ridges in the tennis ball, so you might do this with your students, maybe with a ball, not a tennis ball, just a round ball. But for all intents and purposes, I've used these for years. You notice that when I drop the tennis ball, it comes straight back up. If I come at an angle, it's going to get an opposite angle reaction. And here it goes off that way out of the screen. If I come this way, it goes that way off of the drum, right? Successful drumming, when you start thinking about it, will have everything to do with how the stick comes in contact with the drum and how we react to it afterward. So that was lesson 1. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And we will continue on with this in our next part. Thank you.
We live drums.